Correct. Like she stated, I'm currently in District 3. The office itself, the group itself is based out of the Chief's office, so we're a little more fluid. I'm not restricted to District 3. If there's something at District 3 and District 4 or 5-4 rather, and there's something we need to work together on, or if something's going on in District 2 that needs additional officers to help review it, we can shift. We're a lot more fluid than a typical patrol unit. It is a community problem-based policing unit that it's going to be a lot more involved in really that it's in. It's typically a 90-day, sometimes a little less, sometimes a little more, focusing on a very small area. It could be as small as one apartment building. It could be as small as an apartment complex. My example that I've been working on is the Needle Stores area, which is not just the corner, but the 7 streets around that area that are making up that lower price little neighborhood. So even this program here that I'm working on is part District 3 and it's part District 5. And that one of the reasons that I picked this, and I'm working with the quality of life officer in District 5, is because there was already the prostitution initiative going on McMicken, and that was continued with their quality of life program as well. So this was a little bit preventative as well for displacement of that prostitution. So you kind of had to look ahead and say, let's crack down here. What are the other regions that it's likely to shift to? And this area is historically known for having a fair amount of prostitution. And even the prostitution records you get on McMicken, when you interact with those people, a lot of them are from this area. So it was only natural to kind of set up shop there to prevent that area from just receiving everything that's being moved. I was saying earlier that what I consider this group is, this is how we would police if we had an unlimited number of police officers. Each police officer would have a small area. He would get to know everybody in the community. He would get to know the community's problems, and he would have enough time to address everything thoroughly. With beat officers right now, they don't have time, and they're patrolling a much larger area. So a beat officer's going to go on 20, 30 runs a day. And if you can do the report, you can get it to an investigator. He's not going to have the same amount of follow-up. This unit doesn't answer the radio. So when they're out there for 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day, whatever they essentially deem necessary. If there's events going on, they can stand with those, they can do whatever. They can fully address that area's needs. Unfortunately, the city's a lot larger, so 10 officers, it's going to be one small project at a time. So I hear every meeting I've gone to, why aren't you in this neighborhood, why aren't you in this neighborhood? It's a matter of give us time, and it hits the radar. That's why we're at a lot of these community meetings. I've seen some people before. We need input from the community, because this doesn't just address what we feel are the problems. We're not just looking at crime stats and saying, well, this has the most crime stats, we go there. We have to kind of judge what the community wants addressed as well. So we're getting a lot of input. There's been a lot of neighborhoods that have had flyers go out, whatever else, resident surveys, kind of getting the input of the community saying, ideally, what do you want fixed in this neighborhood? So we can kind of work with that as well. Keep in mind, it's one step at a time. It's one small project at a time. And you may have to wait, even if you're next, you may have to wait 120 days before it's your turn for that project to switch over to. But you're not losing anything. You still have your beat officers. You still have your neighborhood liaison officers. This is kind of an in-between those two things. We're going to have the same relationship with the community. We're going to stay involved with the community members, but we do transition. So we won't be there forever, but we build that relationship, we address the problems, we hit it as hard as we can, using every resource we have. We use building inspectors, health code inspectors, litter patrol. We partner with the Hamilton County Sheriff's. I shifted their community service detail over to this area just to help clean up. So we're using whatever resources available to focus on this area for 90, 20 days to try to address the actual root issues of the problems, whether it be building owners, getting them to acknowledge the problems of their buildings and what's feeding into the crime to begin with, several things. As far as, like I was saying, it's somewhere in between. People think we're just another neighborhood liaison unit. And a liaison is going to communicate the opinions of this to the opinions here and back and forth. There's nothing separating me from making the arrest. I mean, I'm not a liaison. You're telling me and I'm acting. So that's the slight difference there. Like I mentioned, my initial project is Neven Stores. This was a quote that I found which kind of sums up why I chose this neighborhood as prime. It's out of the urbancincinnati.com. Lower Price Hill is perhaps one of Cincinnati's overlooked neighborhoods, but with strong neighborhood schools, engaged community groups, rapidly growing local food production businesses, laundromat, community, event center, restaurant, and more, all owned and managed by the community. The future is in struggle. What this is saying, it's small, it's neglected, but there's still people who care that I can partner with. And that's essentially what we're looking for. If you're small, you're neglected, and you don't care, I can't fix that. But they have enough groups in that area that are trying to fix this neighborhood that I can help them fix it. So like I said, we're looking at small areas. This is the area that I'm looking at. So this would be Party Alley, and then on your south border you have St. Michael. Your east border is going to be Burn Street, your west border is going to be State Street. The entire area is about 782,000 square feet. So this is an area that's notorious for crime, notorious for violence, notorious for drugs, notorious for prostitution. Yet this whole neighborhood will fit inside of 2 square city blocks. So there's no reason that we can't fix this. So if you go from 5th Street to 3rd Street, Elm to Vine, and you had the same amount of crime that was existing in the Neven Stores area, that would be addressed if it was in that area. And there's no reason it can't be addressed in Lower Price Hill. It's tiny. People mention large apartment complexes and stuff like that as well. I've had people mention Fay apartments, stuff like that, just to give you a comparison of size. The entire Neven Stores neighborhood is approximately 30% the size of Fay apartments. So once again, just to reiterate, it's a tiny neighborhood. So there's really no reason we can't address the issues with long-term goals and solutions. Just an overview of the neighborhood, some snapshots of the corners, intersections. Now, the reasons we're there, like I touched on before, prostitution is going to be an issue, existing and displaced, drug problems, and blight. I don't know if you've driven through the Neven Stores area in the past year or two, but as far as the blight index, you're not going to top it in Cincinnati that I'm aware of. It's alarming. So just to touch on the prostitution run, this is the prostitution calls for service from January 1st to May 9th when I put this slide together. Each one of these red dots is a call for service to reference prostitution. This steady line here would be McMicken. And you can see it's pretty much so colored in. And then you have a few, this group here would be that small Neven Stores area, and then you have a few outlying groups as well. So that was kind of part of the thought process in this area. Whenever I pick a neighborhood, I like to figure out the storyline of the neighborhood, which is ideal for solving crime and addressing the issues. If I know that this person has been jumped by these people and then something happens to one of these people, I have somewhere to start. I know the story, and with a neighborhood, as long as it's small, you can completely understand the story. I worked Over the Ride for 7 years. Over the Ride is a small community. You understand the storyline. So if this person gets robbed or if this car gets broken into it, you see what type of item broke into it. You can say, well, let me see if this guy's locked up real fast. If he's not, you can go and address the issue. This also establishes the hierarchy. So I know who's who. I'm not just walking up to random people not knowing who they are. Learning the people that and who they are and calling them by their actual name is another great crime-fighting tool that I think is underutilized. It removes the anonymity. I know who you are. I'm not calling you by your street name. I'm not calling you by anything. I'm calling you by your actual name. So now they know if I see them do something, I can go sign a warrant. I don't have to try to put together a photo, line up, or figure out who this person is. I know who you are. Everybody that I walk past in the Demon Stores area, I do my best to call them by their actual name. And that, like I said, that alone is typically a crime-fighting method. You establish the groups of the area. Here's a few that I don't think anything is too organized in this area. It's basically, you look for graffiti, you look at Facebook, you look for things that are tipping off. Tattoos. Tattoos are always a great sell. Cincinnati white boys or crazy white boys, however you want to. You have a lot of concentration in that area. It's a noble correctional. It's a prison gang. So you see a lot of them in that area for some reason. You have a lot of music-based. I don't feel like calling them gangs. They're cliques. They've named themselves and they're together and they commit crimes. So by definition, they're gangs. And you have a lot of that. You have a